Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining today's Manage Your Money During Coronavirus webinar. This is run in conjunction with the NOLA Public Libraries. It's a free webinar series run every Tuesday at 11 a.m. and Thursday at 4 p.m. until the end of May, covering all kinds of topics related to personal finance. My name is Alexander Bigby. I am the Executive Director of Flight, a New Orleans-based nonprofit that creates free financial education resources for communities throughout the city. If you'd like to learn more about us, please visit our website at www.flightcoaching.com and check us out on Facebook. Today's presentation will be around 20-30 minutes long, varies, and then there'll be a Q&A afterwards, which should again be around 20 minutes. Usually they end up being around 40 minutes or so. If you have any questions at all during the presentation, please just write your question in the chat box, and I will ask it after the main presentation is done. If you also have any comments, if there's any issues with sound or video quality, just let me know. There will be a copy available of this presentation on our website right after it's done. This will also be recorded, and there'll be a YouTube video link on the website as well, and that'll be on flightcoaching.com/webinars. So without further ado, I'll introduce you to today's speaker. We have Tracey Textor from Home Bank joining us today, who has very kindly given us her time and expertise to teach us about the pathway to home ownership. So Tracey, I'll let you take it from here.
All righty, thank you. Let me share my screen now.
And I'll put the presentation up on the screen as well. So hold on 1 second. And just when you want to go to the next slide, Tracey, just please tell me. Oh, you've done it yourself. So you
got it. There we go.
You got it. You're good.
I got my coach next to me.
you got your tech professional with you.
That's right. All righty, guys. Well, as Alexander said, this is probably going to be a first for y'all. I am moving my daughter out of her dorm at Ole Miss. So this is from the car, and you'll be seeing her pop in behind me to put stuff in the back of the car. But today we are going to discuss pathways to home ownership. My name is Tracey Textor, Vice President in Mortgage Lending with Home Bank. I have been a loan officer for 25 plus years. I'm proud of that, but that's also scary to think about. But today's program is to let you know that there are so many ways for you to purchase a home, and most of them you probably assume that it's out of your reach. A big fallacy out there right now is that people still need 20% to purchase a home, and that's not the case. So we're going to go through, help you understand where to get started, the process itself. The first thing is the step you're taking today. Educate yourself. You want to educate yourself what's out there. The next step would be understanding your credit score. So if necessary, we can work on different areas if we need to. Working out a budget, and then understanding the mortgage process itself. To begin that, as I said, education, number one, that is today. You're taking the first step today by reaching out and participating in this webinar. We are in a new time now. Most of the time we were used to doing everything face-to-face. So this is kind of a new world for us, but you are taking the first step even while we're going through this. You want to attend home buyer seminars. There'll be others that you hear of. You want to find a lender that is right for you. You don't ever want to feel inferior to someone. You want someone that respects you and works with you. You don't want to be afraid to ask questions. Hopefully, when you were growing up, you heard, there's no question is a stupid question. And that's the way you should take this. The only way you're going to understand and feel comfortable with what you're doing is by finding someone who's going to work with you. Next, you want to, if you're going to participate in a reputable home buyer counseling program, there are so many different programs out there, and you just need to find one that's for you. There are some of them that you will go through that are 12-week programs, 8-week programs. There's some of them you can do online. Again, you want to do what you're most comfortable with. If you're better with a face-to-face, then you're going to find someone local that you can go to classes. If maybe you work full-time and you sometimes go to class at night or have a family, well, in that case, then, you know, the best option for you may be an online. But you're going to find what you're most comfortable with. Some of them, but not an exorbitant amount of money. They may charge $70. I believe one of the online classes is $75. Some of the face-to-face, if you're going to a 12-hour class, they may not charge anything. It just depends on the entity that you choose to go to. And then the last step, once you've gone through these, is we want you to contact a real estate agent, someone that's going to help you, again, respect you and work for you, not themselves. And when you do that, and when I say that, not themselves, you know, this is going to be a grueling process. I am going to be very honest with you. It will be one of the hardest things that you do, but it'll also be one of the most worthwhile. So again, you want people that are going to surround you, to work with you and for you and make you happy. The next part of this is understanding your credit score. What is your credit report? Some people have never even seen their credit report. They don't have a clue of what's in it. A couple of years ago, this site, annualcreditreport.com, again, annualcreditreport.com, you can go on there and you are allowed to pull your credit report for free. And that way you can look that up and see if there's things that you want to work on. There's going to be some things that are going to be very recognizable. If you see a collection, if you see a judgment or a lien, those things are going to stand out and you're going to know that's something I need to address. So it is good to always know what you're going into with, okay? A credit score is almost like a grade in school, okay? Your credit score is going to pretty much help a lender base what you can afford and be responsible for in the future, okay? So you're going to have your credit score, and they range from 350 all the way to 820. An average credit score these days is generally between 650 and 700. Of course, the higher the score, the more opportunities that are going to be available to you. The lower the score, generally with a home purchase, you need a score of at least 600. And as I said, we go over that together and see if there's things you need to work on. How to get a better score. If you see in the visual there, your credit score is based on the amount of debt you have, your payment history, your max credit, whoops, sorry about that, you're timely and available to you. So ways that you can increase your score. The most important is timely payments. You want to make sure you pay everything on time. And you have to understand that when you're making payments, you actually have a full 30 days. You may have a late payment if your payment's due on the 1st, whether it's a credit card, your house, your car. It's due on the 1st. Most, I can't tell you everything, but almost most types of credit allow you a grace period. So between the 1st and the 15th, you can make that payment. It's considered on time and there's no late charges. If you make it between the 15th and the 30th, the payment is not reported late in the credit bureau, but the lender or the investor that you're making the payment to may charge you a late fee. So you always want to make sure that that payment is made within those 30 days. The next most important is your amount of debt. They don't want to see everything maxed out. If you have a $500 credit card, they don't want to see your balance at $495. They want to see you use the cards, but they want you to be able to pay them down. So generally, if someone is trying to build up their credit, I'll tell them, use it all month long for buying your gas, if you're buying your groceries, whatever. But you have to be disciplined enough to pay, if not all of that, majority off on your payment due date. And that way they're able to say, yes, they're using the credit, but they are paying it off and they're paying it down. Inquiries affect you a lot too. They do not want to see a lot of inquiries. They want you to be stable. They do want you to have a variety of types of credit, but they don't want it to be all maxed out or you get new credit cards every 6 months. And that's very important. They want to see your track record. So they want to see items on there that have been on there for a while. If you open a credit card, they don't want you closing this one out and opening another one. Keep the credit card. You can pay it down to 0, but don't close it out. Believe it or not, when you close something out, it actually decreases your credit score as well. When you go to apply for a mortgage, most types of credit that you apply for, they'll pull from one credit report. There's Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion. And like I said, majority of credit cards, or when you go in to buy a car, they only pull from one bureau. When you go to pull for a mortgage, we pull what is called a tri-merged credit report. That is all 3 of the bureaus report. The reason why from that is because each one of these credit bureaus score just a little bit differently. You can have the exact same items reported to all 3 credit bureaus, but you will have 3 different scores. So when purchasing at home, we pull a tri-merge, and to keep it fair, we pull the middle score. We're not going to say everybody gets the highest, everybody gets the lowest. We're going to pull the middle because we know that is pretty much going to be the average. And then once we've worked on that, we're going to use that to see what programs you will be eligible for. As I said, 600 is generally the lowest on a home.
I'm sorry, it might have just been me, but if you could repeat the last sentence, you kind of cut out there for a second.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. About the tri-merge?
Yes.
Okay, so with the tri-merge, when you have, there's 3 separate credit reports, and they all 3 can have the same information, but they grade slightly differently. So your scores are going to be different for each one of those. So when you're going to apply for a mortgage, we pull that and we use the middle score because we know that middle score is going to be the average. One of them is extremely hard and they grade very tight. The other one is very lenient. So we go with the middle, and that's what's used. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thanks.
Okay. So once we have that credit score, that is what we use to see what programs and products are available to you. Right now, as I said, the 600 credit score is the minimum score to get approved for a home purchase. If you have a score lower than 600, I'm not going to tell you you can't get approved, but it may be at something that's called a hard lender And when you do that, they're going to charge a much higher interest rate. It would benefit you the most if you just work on your credit. And credit scores, it's amazing. You make 3 or 4 months of payments on everything on time, and your score can do a major increase. So just keep that in mind. If you have a score at 600 or even a little bit lower, don't be afraid and disappointed, because it's workable and we can get there. Common causes for a low credit score. Collection accounts. As I said, these are going to be things that jump out at you immediately when you look at your credit score. Okay, when you pull that bureau, it lists derogatory credit, and then it lists everything that's been paid on time. Collections is number 1. Collections can be anything. It can be a medical bill. It can be, believe it or not, utility bills. Cell phone bills are probably the most popular collection account that I see. People will change service and just not pay that. Well, these cell phone service providers are not going to just go away. And the sad part is they'll keep it for so long, and then a collection company will buy it, and they'll have it for so long. And then another collection company will buy it from them. And it really, they do that to try and keep this on your credit report as long as they can. So collections are generally, like I said, it's going to be things from your everyday life. Cell phone, utilities, medical bills, that's your most popular collections. Or credit cards that you didn't pay, things of that nature. Judgments is when it's taken a step further. Maybe you had a credit card that you didn't pay, and then from there, they may have had an attorney that didn't want to let it go to a collection account. It might be an $8,000 credit card. Maybe it's not a small amount. They can actually go to the clerk of courts and have that recorded against you. The difference between a collection account and a judgment is a collection account will eventually fall off your credit report. It's not going to stay there forever. A judgment or a lien can. Again, now the lien, judgments and liens really kind of coincide and are very similar. One is just usually for a larger amount of money. A lien may be, maybe if you own a home already, they can place a lien against your property as well. And so if you own a home now and you're going to purchase another one, it's going to show up in the court records that you owe this, whereas a judgment may not necessarily. So that is kind of like your steps. You go from collection to judgment to lien is the most serious. When you take care of these, it will increase your credit, but don't expect it to be an overnight thing. Because you still paid the credit bad. So we're trying to prove to them, yes, that was a mess up, but I'm starting over now. I'm refreshing. I'm doing a redo. And so collections accounts don't necessarily have to be paid off when you purchase a home. Judgments and liens most of the time are required to be paid. Student loans, how ironic. I'm sitting on Ole Miss's campus. Student loans, again, can be a hindrance. Most of us, you get student loans when you're young. Not that you don't think about it, but you know, I'll get it paid off. I'll get it paid off. When you have deferments do not affect your credit in a negative way. But once that loan is out of deferment, you have to start making payments on it. If you don't, they're actually one of the first ones. Student loans never go away. You will never get out of paying them. Even if something happened in your life and you were filing bankruptcy, student loans can never be forgiven. It's like taxes. It's the federal government that you owe this money to, and they will collect their money back at some point in time. Another issue with student loans is most of the time, it says based on loan type, your student loan debt may be calculated differently in your debt to income ratio. The debt to income ratio is a formula that we as lenders use to try and decipher how much you can afford to pay each month. Even if a student loan is on deferment, we still have to use a percentage of that loan balance as part of your debt to income ratio because, as I just said, they never go away. You eventually will have to pay them. So since we know that up front, we know that we have to count some sort of payment in what your debts would total. Which now brings us to budgeting. How much can you afford to spend on a house? I will tell you, and I work with first-time home buyers a lot. One of the first things I tell them is, I need you to tell me what you can afford, because 9 out of 10 times, I can approve you for more than what the reality is. When I qualify you for a loan, all I see is paper. All I see is how much you pay on your car, how much you pay on your credit cards each month, and how much money you make and what your house note's going to be. I do not know if you're someone who likes to keep an air conditioner on 60 degrees and your electric bill runs high. I don't know if you have a medical condition that you have prescriptions that you have to pay out of pocket, maybe $300 a month for medication. Or transportation. If you do have to, I see car loans, but with myself. If you have a job and you're paying car insurance for them, I don't know what that is. I don't know how much food you have to purchase for your home or how much you enjoy going out to dinner. So that is why my question to you is, how much can you afford? And this is kind of a good way that you can look at it, but you can work and see how you are. You may be more frugal in some areas than I am, or maybe I have a health condition that 5% is not going to cover what I have to pay out each month. So it's good for you to really sit down and look at and say, okay, where I am right now. I might be renting and I'm paying $900 a month in rent, but this is how much I pay for utilities. This is how much I have for medication. Just to give you an idea of what you are comfortable with. Because it is awesome to buy your first house, but you do not want to be married to it. If you want to go out to dinner on a Friday night, you want to be able to do that and not say, oh, wait, today's the 14th, my house note, it has to be paid by tomorrow. I can't afford to do that. I'm going to be short. So just kind of remember that when you're thinking about how you live, how you want to live. Or maybe you're getting married and right now you don't have a family, but guess what? In 2 years, maybe you're planning to have a baby. You know, that all is going to come into play. When you buy a car, you can say, oh my gosh, I'm going to have this massive car loan for 5 years. When you buy a house, it's like a marriage. And that's why I say you want to be comfortable. That is the most important aspect of purchasing your home, is you want this to be a happy experience. You want to work with people that are going to uplift you and do what's best for you. But in the same token, we have to rely on you to help us. We need you to let us know what your reality is and what type of life. Maybe you like to travel, you know, so we count on you to kind of help us and guide us, because we don't ever want to put you in a situation that, you know what, in 6 months you come back and you say, I just can't do this, and you can't get out. So that is a good thing with budgeting. You really, like I said, we count on you to help us as much as we're going to help you. Understanding the mortgage process. What is a mortgage? A mortgage is a lien on a property that secures a promise of repayment. It's really a massive car you're buying. When you purchase a home, you are technically the homeowner, but the security agreement they're talking about is a note and a mortgage. And this is what's recorded against the house that says, yes, you're the owner, but you owe home bank X amount of dollars. The mortgage gives us the right that if you don't make those payments, we have the right to foreclose on. So the one thing I tell people is the most important thing you need to understand when you're signing the book of papers at the closing is you have to pay that note or you will lose the house. That's the bottom line. There's no easier way that it can be said. You know, you just have to understand that once you sign those documents, you have to make sure that you can pay this note every month. And if a situation comes up, you can't be afraid and hide. You have to come forward and say, look, this is a prime example. This is the life we're living right now. So many service industry workers are right now at a standstill. And you need to be able, the minute you know there's a problem, you need to go to your lender, go to who you make your mortgage to, and explain to them, this is what's going on. And there are options for you. There are different ways they can help you to make sure that you're not getting yourself in trouble. Generally, the first step is a mortgage application. And this is where I tell people it is going to feel like I'm asking you for everything under the sun. We will know everything about you. The easiest way to make this path simple is to always be honest. If there's something that you're unsure of, ask. As the lender, we are always going to do everything we can to get you your home. But if there is something negative and you don't let us know, it's going to come up. And prime example, I had a loan I just closed last month. The husband and wife were married. They had gotten divorced. Well, then they got remarried. Well, he didn't tell me they got remarried. Well, we're getting ready, getting everything all together. And all of a sudden, we're about a week out from closing his loan. And even if it's innocence that gets you in trouble, my processor called, she answers the phone and says, may I speak with Mr. Jones? And she says, oh, this is Mrs. Jones. May I help you? So always be honest. That's the one thing that I can ask that will keep the process as simple as can be and flowing as quickly as possible. The documentation that is needed to begin the process is we always need at least 30 days of bank statements. We need W-2s and tax returns for the last 2 years. So right now, we would need 2018 and 2019s. We need a copy of a driver's license or a state ID. And yes, you do need a picture ID to purchase the home. Bank statements. Bank statements for the last 2 months. All pages, even if they are blank. Banks nowadays are infamous for doing this. The back page is blank, but they count it as page 2. Well, we have to know for sure that it's blank, so we need all pages. We also need all bank statements for any account that you have. If you have a checking account, but you have a savings account that maybe you only keep $100 in, but you transfer money back and forth, that's why we need to see all money transfers, whose account they're going into, how much it was. So we definitely need all bank statements. Purchase agreement. This one is if you have it. I honestly prefer when you're exploring to purchase a home, let's meet first. Let's see where you're at. You don't want to purchase a home and be ready to go to closing and you really weren't ready yet. So we can do what's called a credit approval. You bring everything to me, we talk about it, we go through everything, and we're kind of working backwards. We're looking at what price range you would be in that you're going to be comfortable. So the purchase agreement, is maybe if we've met and you come back 6 months later and you have one, but otherwise it's really the first 5 items that we need for us to start working together to see what we can do. The mortgage cycle. A lot of things happen when you are behind the scenes. It'll feel like you don't know what's going on, or you feel like nothing is going on and everything is going on the backside. So we'll do our initial application and we're going to look at different loan programs. We'll look at, based on your income and your credit, what type of programs are out there for you. If it's better to go with an FHA loan or a conventional loan, or maybe you're looking to buy in an area that has rural development. There's so many different options out there for you, but we won't know which one is best for you until we have that initial application and we're looking at everything. Once we go through all that, then we can issue a pre-approval. Most times these days, when you go to put an offer in a house, they're going to ask for your pre-approval process. I mean, your pre-approval letter. So, we want to do that. Hang on. Let's see. All right, there we go. Much better. Find a property. That is when you're going to go out and you're looking to see, you know, what area you want to go in. Which honestly, when we start the initial, I'm going to tell you, get an idea of where you want to live so that we know price ranges that are in that area. It might be an area that you really want that just isn't feasible at this time, or you may be able to get more than. So we just have to look at everything and it's like pieces of a puzzle that we can put together. Once we have everything and you have a property, we're going to submit the file. We're going to lock your loan. When we lock your loan, we're locking your interest rate for 45 days. Now from this point is when it kind of gets quiet on your side rather. I lock your loan. Then we're going to verify all your income and your assets, verifications, different disclosures. Once we've done that, we're going to order the appraisal and order the title request. Once everything comes in, the file's going to go to underwriting. We get our decision. When we get a decision, generally you're going to get what's called a conditional approval. A conditional approval is going to tell us, yes, we can do the loan, but they want to see these other things. So just because I got the first group of docs in the beginning, 99% of the time I come back to you and ask for other items. So just understand that from the beginning. It feels like we're constantly going back, but sometimes it's like a game of ping pong. We give them this and they say, oh, okay, I see that, but can you get this for me? And then we're going back and forth. So it does, you know, take a little bit, but once we get there, they're going to clear it. We'll order your homeowner's insurance, and then we're going to go to closing. Now, at this point, I like to tell you that when you go to look at a home, even if you're looking, if you are going to try and use a program that has down payments and you don't want big fallacy out there is honestly, you probably need about $1,500 cash in the beginning because there are 3 items that you will have to pay for that are outside of a loan application. The first one is find a house, realtor asks for deposit. Generally, it can be between $500 and $1,000. Most of them these days are taking $500, but it is the seller's choice what they want. So you're going to put your deposit on the house. Now that you will get credit, but you still have to put them because that's your show of good faith that you're going to purchase the home. The second is when you buy a home, especially in the New Orleans area, you want to have a lot of our homes are older homes. And inspections generally cost between $500 to $600. And it is that person's job to go there and literally and take that part. But they're covering to make sure that you know anything that could be wrong. It can be as little as chipping paint on the walls, but it's there to let you know. Nothing major is your opportunity to tell your realtor, okay, well, I want this fixed to buy the house. If that inspector says the roof is bad, you want to say, I'm going to buy the house if you put a new roof. But that's your second. So now we're up to, let's say, $1,000. And then your third out-of-pocket expense is your appraisal. And I collect $500 for the appraisal. That is because that appraisal is done by someone outside. It's not done by the bank. So that's your three costs that really are an upfront fee before we go to a loan closing. Oh, hold on. Mortgage loan products. So as I was explaining before, there are several different programs out there. FHA programs. FHA generally requires a 3.5% down payment, but they may be a little bit more looser on their requirements. They might be able to have a little bit higher DTI, or the credit score might be able to go, that's the one that can go like to a 600. So it's the most flexible program, but you are required to have 3.5% down. Your rural development loan is 100% loan. But the loan is only certain areas. There's none in Orleans Parish, a little bit of the West Bank is, but St. Charles, St. Tammany, St. Bernard, they all have rural development areas. A conventional loan, a VA loan is just strictly, you know, if you were or you're a veteran. Community reinvestment mortgage, that is a product that Home Bank has. We have it in-house. That is for someone that wants to buy a home, but maybe in New Orleans or in part of Jefferson does not have a rural development, and it's a way that we help you out to have 100% loan. So you'll have first mortgage of 90%, and then we do a second loan behind it that would help you with your down payment. Adjustable rate loans, it's not something that you really want to get into, especially on your first home. Adjustable rate loans are where you have your interest rate locked maybe for the first 3 years or 5 years, and then it becomes adjustable rate. So it's not something that I would really wholeheartedly recommend to someone. Construction loans, or if you were choosing to build a home, or renovation loans. Maybe you're going to buy a home in New Orleans, but you know, it needs some work. So we can work with you on that. Property types. You can do a single family home. Single family attached is usually like a townhome. Condominiums, manufactured homes, or PUDs. Again, PUDs are a lot of times neighborhoods that have a homeowner association, and we don't have a whole lot around us. Different down payment assistance. We have something called the HELP program that is good in St. Tammany, Jefferson, and Orleans Parish. They have a $10,000 grant. Louisiana Housing Corporation, and different local governments. Orleans Parish has a specific grant that can be up to $30. There are programs out there, but the main thing is that with those, you will have to follow stricter guidelines and will have income qualifications. But there's so many programs out there, and if you don't try for them, you won't even know they exist. And that's it. Do y'all have any questions?
Hi, Tracey. Thanks very much for that presentation. That was excellent. Very, very comprehensive. There's a couple of questions that were written during the presentation.
Okay.
One person was just wanting to know a little bit more. You talked about reputable classes for home buying. Do you have any off the top of your head that you can kind of tell people?
If you go through, in New Orleans, there's one called Neighborhood Housing Development does it. And there's another one. What I can do is I can add it, and you can add it to the back. Maybe I can add a slide.
Sure.
I can do
And also,
there's also an online one. It's called Frameworks, and it's very it's a good one as well for anyone who wants to do online.
yeah, and Tracy's details are here. And if there's, if you have a very
Yeah,
specific
you can
question,
shoot me an email as well.
yeah,
Yes, that would be
there you
fine.
go. Okay, and then we've got another question. I think this relates more to the credit portion of the
Okay.
presentation. How many credit cards should one invest in? I think we're kind of relating to how many cards should one have in order to build one's credit.
Okay, so when you are looking to establish your credit, you generally want to have a minimum of 3 trade lines, whether it's 3 credit cards, whether it's your, as I said, cell phone bills. You can ask them to report. When you're building credit, the most important thing is you want a minimum of 3, but you want to make sure it's something that you are building positive credit. You're going to make that payment each month. Something else you can do, if you've never had any credit, you can actually get a secured credit card, and that is a very good beginning, because you put that money and it's almost like a savings account. You put $250 in it or $500 in it, and they give you a card that you can use, and they report it to the credit bureau. So it's a great way to establish credit as well.
Yeah, and I guess just to add to that, if somebody wants to get more credit cards to help build up their credit, they probably shouldn't do it all in a short period of time.
No, you don't. And like I said, they want to look for a variety. So if you have a credit card, if you have a car loan, or if you have, they just variety.
Thanks very much.
Okay.
I got a question here. So I think it was related to earlier the different parishes. Somebody was asking about Tangipahoa Parish. If there's any.
Right now, Tangipahoa does not have any assistance programs, but they do have rural development. So it is a 100% area.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay.
Another question, how much do you recommend for a down payment?
That honestly goes hand in hand into what you can afford. You can get into a home loan with as little as 3%. And a lot of people do that, because I don't want you to exhaust all of your savings to purchase this house. Because guess what? In a year, something may happen and you need money. So if you have, let's say you have $10,000, but you're trying to buy a home for $150,000, I would say just put the 3.5% down, or 5 max, so you can keep a little bit of money. You never want to have yourself strapped without something for an emergency.
And will the amount of down payment you put down have an effect on the interest rate?
No, it does not. The credit score is what's going to affect the interest rate the most.
Great. Thank you very much. Could you repeat the list of costs prior to closing? I think there was some reception issues as well. Somebody's asking
Sure.
about that.
Okay, so count on, because most lenders will not tell you this, and it's just because maybe they work, whatever reason they don't. But the 3 things that you have to count on is, number 1, the deposit on your home. Count on that being between $500 and $1,000, depending on what your realtor and the sellers agree on. Majority of the time they will take $500, but I have seen them as high as $1,000. Your second is you always want to get a home inspection. A home inspection runs between $500 and $600. And then your third out of pocket before closing is going to be the cost of your appraisal. So you're going to be paying the $500 to the lender when you make your application, and that'll cover the cost of your appraisal. Now you are given credit for the $500 deposit and the appraisal cost. You're given credit for that on your closing documents.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. What is a good way to find a reputable lender?
Honestly, it's going to be you calling, and you're going to have to use your gut. You're going to have to call and talk to someone. If you call someone and you don't feel like they're giving you the time of day, well, then that person's not for you. You want somebody, when you call and say, I'm a first-time home buyer, or I'm just getting into this, you want them to say, oh, that is great. Let's sit down. When can you come in? Are you more comfortable coming in? What do you want to do? You want someone that's going to sit down with you and truly explain the process and work with you. If you don't get that piece when you do that, then that's not the lender for you.
Okay, great. And will different lenders have, I guess, different tolerances for credit, or
Yeah.
no?
Generally, I mean, they may, like I spoke about our CRA program, our community reinvestment. Okay, that is strictly to home bank. Okay, so yes, we handle that. Not all lenders have programs. A lot of times, if you go to a bank versus a broker, you may have a little bit lower interest rates, whereas brokers may have a little bit more leniency, but they also might be bumping the rate. So you just kind of have to, watch that, pay attention to that, and pay attention to their fees.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I got 2 questions here from one person. Where in the mortgage timeline that was presented would the home inspection occur, and what is the purchase agreement?
Okay, so the home inspection actually happens before the mortgage process. And that's where that money is what I say is the most riskiest when you're buying a home. Okay, because you have to pay someone to do that home inspection. And if it comes back that something's wrong with that house and the sellers don't agree to fix it, that's your out to get out of the contract. But you don't get that money back. They don't pay for it. Okay. The purchase agreement is what is really when you meet with your realtor and you find a house that you want, you and your realtor are going to talk and you're going to come up with a number on what you want to offer them, because you may be looking at $100,000 house, but maybe you want to offer them $95,000, but you want them to pay some of your closing costs. So when you make them an offer and they agree to it, that's your purchase agreement. Once everyone has signed that, yourself, your real estate agent, your sellers, and their agent, all 4 parties will sign that. That is your purchase agreement. Once you have that, and that's when you're going to give your deposit. The next step is that inspection. And when you do that property inspection, like I said, that is the most riskiest money you're spending, because that is money that you cannot get back, even if the property isn't up to par. Okay.
Great, thank you. Is credit reporting different for joint applicants?
It depends. If it's joint applicants and they are not married, then you each have to have a mid score. If you're married, it's a joint credit report. You each have to have your own scores, and it's going to be the lowest out. So truly, when it's a joint applicant, that's 6 credit score. We're going to be looking at sense. Each one is going to have 3 scores. We're going to look at the lowest middle one, and that would be your score that would be used.
And would the same apply in terms of income verification if it's a joint?
I can't hear you.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
Now go ahead.
Great. Would the same be applicable if it was a joint application for income verification? For W-2s, if one partner was earning considerably more than the other, would that be taken into consideration?
We're going to average all income, so that's not an issue. Okay. So like you may have one that doesn't work at all, and the other one is, then we're going to use both credit scores and only use both will be on the loan, but we only have that income for one. If they both work, we're going to add those incomes together. So it's increasing your buying power.
Okay, great, thank you. And question here, what's a good way to find home buying assistance programs? Just Google?
I'm sorry?
What's the best way to find a home buying assistance program that works for you? Would you just Google, or are there specific?
Generally, your lender's going to tell you. Generally, your lender's going to tell you, because they're going to have access to your income and to your credit scores, and they'll be able to tell you what you qualify for.
Great, thank you very much. Does Home Bank do loans in other states? Mississippi?
Yes, because we're a bank, I can do nationally, because I'm a national bank. So yes, I can help you in Mississippi. I can do loans in California.
Fantastic. I think, does anybody else have any more questions? I think we've gone through all the ones on the chat box. Nope, I think we're very good. Tracy,
All
thank
right.
you. Thank you
Thank you
so
all
much
so
for your
much.
time.
I'm sorry for the atmosphere I was
Don't
in.
worry. I'm just very grateful for your time and expertise. Everybody, thanks for the great
If you have
questions.
any questions, just shoot me an email or give me
Yeah.
a call and I'll be happy to answer them.
And next week on Tuesday, we've got a session on unemployment insurance, which is, a very
Yes,
hot
that's
topic
going to be
right
a
now.
very popular one right now.
Oh yeah, we got somebody from Southeast Louisiana Legal Services who's gonna talk all
Awesome.
about that. So that's gonna be next week, and then we got something on budgeting after that. But
Yeah, I think that one's me too.
that's you as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So very
it-
good. So I'll see you next week.
I'll see you next week. Looking forward to it. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of the time with your daughter. And yeah,
Thank you.
thanks
Y'all
everyone
have
for
a great
joining.
one. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.